Everybody, welcome back to Addiction and the Three Principles. Today we are joined by Debi, and I love the work that she's been doing and how she deals with people, just family members of people with addiction. She's got some experience herself, and I love how she shares about this. So Harry and I wanted to bring her on the show today to talk about this, because it's such a needed topic. There's a lot of parents out there, people who help with addiction tend to think just about the addict, and there's a lot more people who are affected by what that addict is going through. And I think it's very important that we actually delve into that and explore it a bit. So I'm excited to have you on here today, Debi. Harry, do you have something to say before we get going?
Yeah, I do. First, I just want to promote this new series, the Golden Moments series. We put out episode 1 and episode 2, and it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Something a little more unique in the 3P world than what's been offered before. And we hope people will take a look at it, because I'm very turned on. There'll be about 8 to 10 of them as a course for people, but it's entertaining, rewarding, and educational. And Julian Friedman did a phenomenal job of making it also spicy. So we have dancing girls and all that stuff. Yeah. So now,
and those are on our YouTube channel. Harry just did some reworking where there's actually 3 sections on there. So we have one section for this series, there's another section for the facilitators series, and then there's a new section for the golden moments. So it's all on the same YouTube channel.
Yeah, great. Yeah, actually that took a little while, but was a lot of fun. When we had this show, Greg, when we talked initially, we wanted to have a guest and then a group discussion, And Debi kind of is in the middle of that. She's a guest, but she's a moderator like us. What we're more looking for today is not just Debi talking, but all of us discussing things, with Debi interlacing her own personal experiences or her personal observations and insights with it. So I hope we achieve that, where we discuss rather, because this is the group discussion format, and it's just Debi and I have had a very nice sharing together. We talked on Friday, and she says we're like brother and sister, and truth is we are kind of like that. We shared a feeling that was rewarding. So I hope today we have all of us are brothers and sisters sharing what we know and going from there. And with that, Debi, go ahead, say whatever's on your mind.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Thank you, Greg. It's my pleasure to be here. And when we spoke the other day, Harry, I think we were both in a place of, I was thinking about that this morning. We were just in a place of sharing, and we had no thought on anything. And I do remember one thing that you asked me to share, and it wouldn't have been something that I would have, but there's a lot in what I saw. So I was in the hospital last week, and I spent several days, 4 days or so. I had a kidney stone, and it came on me very quickly. And I remember being in the hospital and speaking with one of the nurses, and I was in a very low place at that time because I was in such terrible pain. And I remember thinking, I know what I know, but I don't know it right now, because I'm in this place of feeling this pain, and I don't see clearly right now. But there was something going on in the back of my mind that says you are going to see it clearer. So one of my sons, I think all of you probably who have been on here know that I have 2 sons that have been in and out of recovery, that are doing well right now. And one of my sons was at the hospital with me. And I remember being at a place of just being very sick. And when he came in to visit me and he held my hand, he shared with me something that, we don't think that our kids really hear us, but he said, I said, I just so bad, I'm just, not feeling good at all. And whatever I said, he said to me, Mom, remember what you said? You said that the sun is always out, not just for the clouds. So that little piece of advice that he gave back to me brought me to a place where I came back down to being with the pain. And kind of like I told Harry, and I don't remember how I told you at the time, Harry, but I experienced something that was very different. And I was able to be with the pain. I stopped breathing so heavily and just kind of left my body, my human body. And I was in a place of just pure consciousness where I actually really saw my body and myself lying there. And it was just a place of such peace. And I think when Becken Dickinger speaks of that, that's exactly what happened with me and what I experienced. I just kind of had this waking up of seeing, what was really going on. And I had no thought at that time. And then I kind of opened up to just experience the spiritual beauty of just me as not the human Debi, but the spiritual Debi. And it was it's hard to put it in words, but I was filled with God and filled with just a feeling of everything's okay. It was very peaceful. I still had pain, but I for a while I was able to reach a place that it's really hard to put it in words right now. I think I explained it to you, Harry, and maybe it came out a little bit better than it is right now.
Maybe I could give a little background to the story,
Okay.
just to add context to it. First of all, both of her sons have had alcoholism, heavy alcoholism problems. And the first thing that touched me with her story was her son, who she often has been a support mechanism for, is there for her, leading her with his wisdom to a place where it led her to this beautiful spiritual experience, which she desperately needed at that particular moment. And I that story touched me not only because what she reached, because it was something very special when she was talking about it on Friday, but it was also the fact that her son was the catalyst. And we often, when we're dealing with people in addiction, forget that they are teaching us. We are very big on what we're doing there to support them. But in this particular case, all the love that she shared as a mother just came pouring back in this one moment when she desperately needed a lift. And I thought that was very, very touching, very, very touching. And Debi really loves her two kids. And maybe Debi, for not a long story, but just give a little bit background of both of them a little bit, just to bring context to the parenting and addiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My sons are a year apart, and both of them have been in and out of addiction, and it seems like they kind of took turns with that. So this goes back, my one son, believe I went through a divorce at the first part of my life in younger years, and he was very young when he started using, probably like 12. So both of them have been in and out of addiction. So I went through a lot of blame myself, and I looked for answers. I went to Al-Anon a few times and didn't find it there. So what I found through the principles has changed my life. And I think that that's kind of where I'm at. I'm wanting to be of service to help other parents, because I know what I went through for years. And we're talking about probably, I'm just guessing, over 20 years. of of struggle and not knowing where to turn to, not knowing what to do, and pretty much living um, to help raise them up and help them, and whatever I could do as a mother. So when I ran across the principles, that is when everything started changing for me. I was able to see their addiction differently, and more I think that the better that they have gotten, the better, more that I have also grown, and being able to see 100% that they have everything that they need, and there is nothing for me to do other than love them, and I don't judge them, whatever it is they do. And the more that I've got to that place, and that's kind of what I want to be able to be open to have conversation with other parents as to, how did I get to that place? What did I see in the principles that opened me up to be able to live a beautiful, peaceful, happy life, no matter what they're doing? Because I used to live waiting for that phone call when I hadn't heard from one of them, if they were in the street or whatever. We all, probably have a lot of stories of that. So, and you're right, it's not just reaching as a mother, as a parent, it's also as a brother, as a sister, as a aunt, uncle, loved one, whatever. We're all affected. We're all affected when we love somebody. So, yeah. So now, right now, Dustin is my oldest. He's back to work. He runs a crane. And my other son, Adam, he's been incarcerated, and he will be coming out Wednesday. He'll be transferred back to Indianapolis, and he'll do 6 months work release. So,
could I just want to add one more context to the story.
Okay.
I didn't realize I was such a big, but one of the breakthroughs that Debbie had when we were talking initially, which basically released this whole Zoom room, because up to that point I had felt Zoom was not in person and you couldn't really touch real feelings. And after this experience, I phoned Greg, and Greg says, yeah, let's do it. And that's what initiated the program. It all started from this little experience where Debbie was talking about her son in prison. And I said to him, it's spiritual. It's beautiful that he's going there. And all of a sudden, tears started to come to her eyes. And all of a sudden, she realized it was perfect for him to go there. And to be honest, now that we look 6 months or a year later, a year and a half later, it has been a very, very powerfully beautiful experience. But she was blaming herself. And when she saw that it was spiritual beauty that he was walking into, these tears, as a mother feels, by the way, it was so, and you could feel her heart leave. And I said to myself, if we could touch this in Zoom, Greg and I should do this show. And then I phoned him up, and it released this thing. And I think we as parents, we have a tendency to think a lot about our kids. And Eckhart Tolle said something that has always touched me. He talks about ego and pain bodies, but he says the biggest pain bodies, which is an expression of ego, by the way, the biggest pain bodies is with family. And so they affect us the deepest. They affect, we care so much about them. And sometimes, because we have this thing rolling in our head, we misinterpret what actually is happening on a spiritual or a level of perfection. And as a parent, if you can relax with what's happening with your kids, I think, Catherine, you would agree with that, would you? Yeah, go ahead, say a few words, Catherine.
Well, I agree 100% with you. Hi, Debbie. It's nice to see you.
Hi, Catherine.
I think I have a little bit of I agree with you. I think people who know me see me as a bit of a different kind of parent, because when I was pregnant with my daughter, I wasn't in a very good place in my life, and my husband was leaving, and so I was a single parent. But what I did know was that the best thing I could give my daughter was a happy parent. So I started looking at that time, it was for her, but I started looking for my own happiness because I wasn't a very happy person. And I wanted her, if I could give her anything, I wanted to give her a happy mother to raise her. So that started it really accelerated my spiritual quest, I guess I could call it that. And that continued. She's 27 now. And the 3 principles has really clarified for me as a parent, has freed me. It's really given me the assurance that she has everything that she needs, that I don't have to do it for her, that I can be here with her while she finds her way. And I know 100% that I can't do it for her, but I know 100% that she has it within her. And I only know that because I found it within myself. And it's just been the most beautiful gift to be her parent with this understanding. So I don't know if that helps with the conversation we're having, but in that context, this understanding has been the most precious gift for me because it's helped me live that, not only believe that, but live that. So when she comes here to visit, and she's in school right now and doing very well, when she comes to visit, she tells me it's a peaceful, really good thing to come home and visit her mom. Now that's the best thing I can hear. So anyway, I love what you're saying, Debbie, and it's a subject that's really close to my heart. As a single mom, I used to carry around a lot of guilt and shame about what I wasn't able to provide for my daughter, and that's all gone. And what we share now is a really lighthearted, beautiful relationship because I'm not sitting at home worrying about her. I'm with her 100%, having a happy life myself and ready to be there for her whenever she asks me to be.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking I need to get in there and fix it for her. And there's been lots of ups and downs along the way, which we don't have to get into the details of. But to get to that place of freedom that you're talking about, Debbie, when all this is going on with your sons is really beautiful to hear.
And that's the same for me. So I share that same feeling that you're feeling. And that's why I just want other people to be able to feel what we feel and to be able to have the happiness and joy and peace and that we feel inside no matter what's going on. And I mean, no matter what. I remember something came to me this morning because you know how you have flashbacks and some people think, I've had people say to me, well, yeah, but you don't know what I've gone through with my daughter or my son. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, tell me, I want to hear more. And, I can remember an experience of my son calling me and taking him to the hospital, my husband and I taking him and going in the emergency room and them, asking me to leave. And they had like 6 doctors working on him that he had, gone into. So I have seen it most all. I have been through it most all. So for me to stand here and say, I'm telling you, my life is no matter what, I am happy and I'm so, so thrilled and to be able to share these principles with whoever comes along, because I know absolutely can guarantee that it will change their life and their perspective of how they see those loved ones that are going through addiction.
I love it because I just see how you're the light. You're the living light in their lives, So, and that's what will draw them to, or draw out the health in them.
Yeah. And, my son was here last night just to come by to visit with me, with his girlfriend. And, I honestly didn't even think of him as addiction or that he's what he's done. I mean, it's just like we're together and it's just so different. And he feels differently. He really wants to be with me. Like you were saying, your daughter, there's no judgment, and he just really wants to to be present with me. And my son, even though he's, incarcerated, and the letters and the depth that we've been able to reach and talk to each other on the phone and through JPay. And he wrote a book that he did give me, and he's on a second one on his journey. And Harry's right. He went through exactly what he needed to go through, and very blessed, very blessed. Yeah, there is no wrong.
It's beautiful.
And I love what you say about just seeing him as an ordinary human being. I'm going back to teach into my daughter's grade 2 class. Once a week, I help her out in school. And I think the greatest thing that I bring is I don't see them as grade 2 little kids. I just see them as energy of what they're bringing. And they start talking, not as grade 2 kids. They talk like what I would call very mature observations and discussions, and they're very comfortable in it. Very, very comfortable. And if the people become comfortable in being absolutely normal and stuff like that, it's all in there anyway. It's a big joke. We have everything we need.
We do.
Everything. And so they have everything they need. And it once they open the portal, it's like it just gushes out. And who's the biggest surprise? We are.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. You had brought up something about the ego, and that's one thing I did. Sometimes I'll just open up the missing link, and I found something this morning, if everybody gives me a second to read, that I really saw a lot, when I was in the hospital about my ego, because I was telling the nurse, and she kind of opened my eyes to something. We have teachers all around us. And she opened my eyes. I said, well, I don't understand. I did Pilates in the morning, and I biked, and then I did some work, and I worked in the office, and I made dinner, and then I go to bed, and I wake up with this terrible pain. And I'm like, so I kept saying what I used to be, or who I am, is what I was seeing, that I was trying to convince her who I am. I'm this healthy person, and this isn't normally me being ill and this and that. And she says to me very quietly, because I was trying to say that I wasn't in pain, she goes, "You weren't until you were." And it was so simple, but it was like, whoa, yeah, I wasn't in pain until I was, and then in the hospital. So I saw a lot of ego in a different way. I saw it as I am not who, I used to say when I was going through the principles, who am I? Because I was I think we've all kind of gone through that place of seeing that we are not who we really think we are. We connect to that when we connect to that spiritual end, and it was just what came to me as being ill. So I feel that every time that we go through any type of illness, we learn from it, and I sure learned a lot from this one. So if I can read this real quick, and then we'll open it up for any questions. But this is in Sid's book, The Missing Link, and this is just happened to randomly open it this morning. It says, "Nothing can possibly be greater or separate from the whole. Only the ego suffers such delusions. Our personal mind," which, boy, I saw that one, or what is sometimes referred to as the ego, galvanized with our consciousness, equals our reality in its entirety. Our ego, combined with our 5 senses, often creates distorting lenses that stop us from evolving to our true spiritual nature.
It brings an interesting observation. That's beautiful, by the way. Ego and our parenting skills and so on. You don't need if we have an understanding of what you said. I'm not going to actually go anymore because that would take it away. But that's beautiful. Chris, I have a question for you. How do you see ego and parenting?
Oh, yeah. Well, what can I just, what popped up while you were speaking, Debbie,
Yes.
First, we went to church today, and one of the things that there was this discussion, and we also had a discussion this morning, Doris and I, about this, that the ego tends to have this idea that let's say, when something bad happens, it must be my fault. So what the ego does is it finds it's like Google, why is this happening? And it comes up with an answer. So we tend to have an answer. And in this scripture today, I forget the name of it, but that was the thing was that, the people believed that at the time of Christ, they believed that, if something had happened to you, that was because you'd done something bad. Yeah. So what you sow, you reap. So that's really what this is about, I think, because if we had that kind of programming, that kind of idea, and something bad happens with our family or our kid, oh, I must be at fault. And in the 70s, I remember, because I studied psychology, that was what I could read in the psychology books. Ah, you've been a bad parent. Shame on you. So this whole idea makes, oh, I'm a parent, and my kid isn't going good. I can't even say anything nice, and how am I going to deal with the other, parents or the school or society, whatever. So what the principles does is kind of point to that this is just an idea. It's really just, there's not that you can't, it's really just an idea that's keeping people in shame and self-doubt and banging up them, hitting themselves hard with some, because something, I must have done to someone, and I'm not saying there can't be correlations, of course, but it's more like, I guess what Sydney Banks is pointing to in the quote you just came is that we're actually more free than we think we are. That the ego is it's kind of a restriction, and I think very often there was also on telly this evening they had lots of girls in Denmark having problems with self-esteem, problems with their body, and but they actually they were discussing this, that where did they get that from? Well, is it how does that happen? Why aren't we satisfied with our life? And I guess it's because we have this false idea of causation. And what if the reality instead is it's all a free-flowing consciousness going on, and we're not really who we think we are. And there's nothing that permits us, holds us away from having a great day every day. And every day is the new possibility, which, by the way, also was what the priest was saying down at church today. Every day is a new possibility. There's no, shame, blah, blah, blah. Right. We're all forgiven and we all make mistakes. It's fine. It's okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Love works.
Absolutely. Love works. That's beautiful. And if it wasn't for thinking about all of that, which, that's what I want to get out to other people, is that, no one should go through what I feel like I did, and I know millions of other people have, for years of shame and guilt and blame for what has happened with my children. And now I can see that the healthier, it was something that once I went through and saw who I truly am from the core, the spiritual end of who I really am, not this, but who I really am, is when I was really able to see a change in me and see a change in them. And it just trickles around people that you're around. So that, yeah, that's beautiful.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Tanya, how about you saying us something on, since you're also a woman, say something a little bit about this topic.
I don't have anything to add right now.
Hi, Tanya.
Hello, Debbie. Yeah, my daughter was 17 when I came across the principles, so she was already on her gap year. And yes, I think she would say she's definitely noticed a change in me. She was a bit worried at the beginning. I seemed too happy. And
big problem.
Yeah.
She did. She said that. She came, Mother, you're just too happy. But I also don't tend to spend much time looking backwards anymore at how I could have done it better, because I wasn't happy. I wasn't a happy mother. You know, occasionally on a bad day, in a low mood, I might have these thoughts, but very infrequently now, whereas before they used to plague me a lot. And she seems to be doing fine and isn't at all interested in the 3 principles, unfortunately, is studying psychology. So I keep trying to like drip feed it in, but no.
But isn't it amazing, Tanya, that when I do, you know, all the things I'm bringing up how I used to feel, but honestly, it's a hard thing to go back and remember, because it fades away so much the more that you see this, and the more that you know, it does.
Yeah, I've said that for quite a while, that I can talk about it now. So I'm obviously thinking, but I don't have the associated feeling with it. It occasionally happens where the feeling will well up and I'll get quite emotional, but really not very often anymore.
And you know, I personally see that everything that I go through when I'm in a better state of mind. Now, of course, when I was in the hospital, I didn't see it then, when I was in a lower state of mind, but I really see how every single thing I've gone through has been such a blessing, and it's brought me to where I am and to who I am. So I think that's, you know, accepting that journey to get where I'm at is all part of you know, the rest of it is like, you know, innocence. I just see innocence in all of it, and innocence in my children and other people. So that's really cool, the way that just kind of goes away.
I love that, Debbie, because I think that also allows us to be present and fresh in the moment every time we are with our children. We don't have all of the baggage from the past in between them and us. And, you know, I really have come to believe that, like, she's on her own spiritual journey. It's not about me. You know, my ego would say she is a result of my parenting. It's like every path is sacred. I had the privilege of including my own path, you know, and my mistakes as a parent. I call them my mistakes and my failures. When I came to see the innocence in myself, I could see the innocence in all of us, and I could see her as a beautiful individual soul on her own journey, and it wasn't all about me. It was, and the more I let go of the past, I could just meet her fresh in the moment, and then my wisdom would guide me in, and it was a light-hearted interaction. There wasn't all of this heaviness between us from the past or what had happened in the past. And there's something healing and beautiful about that. And I think because that's where divine mind and divine wisdom comes in. And we don't have to carry that stuff from the past. We can let it go. It's not here anymore. And the freshness of this moment, I mean, that's a beautiful gift to give our children. We're not holding what they did in the past against them. We're showing up right now. We see them as this beautiful soul in the world on their own journey. And we have the privilege of being here with them, to support them while they do their own thing. It's like, instead of me trying to figure it out for her, it's like, I love you and I'm here for you while you figure this out.
Right.
You know, I'm here for you no matter what, while you go through this. I trust you and the wisdom you have within you. You know, it's just a beautiful, I just love that whole thing about the past is gone. And that allows us to be free in the moment and to connect in that place. It's really, as a parent, that is just so beautiful. And to not feel like we have to try and control our kids or manipulate them or get them to be anything other than what they are. I mean, to me, I think is, when I stopped doing that to myself, I stopped doing that to my daughter. And we were both freed up to be who we were together in this life. And I'll tell you, it's a much more fun journey to share now as a result.
And I think what you just said, Catherine, that is so true. And it was true for me, is maybe Catherine, I've heard this before, but I feel that I had to see this first, because I wasn't going to stop my old ways of wanting to fix or wanting to think they should be making certain decisions or whatever. So that's what heals. That's what heals. Yeah. It just takes one person to see these wonderful principles that Sid brought to us, just to see it and to feel it and to have the insights. And we keep growing. We keep saying more and more and more. And then it just goes to other people see it through us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it ripples out. We don't have to do it. It just ripples out from us. Yep. Yeah. It's beautiful. And not trying to save our children. And like, that's my ego that says I need to save my child from anything. It's like, no, I want to be with my child as she learns and grows and connects with her own wisdom and navigates her own life from that place. You know, I don't need to save her from her journey. Like, are you kidding? Like, her journey is sacred and it's hers. And
exactly. And just watching, just being the observer of seeing what happens with no expectations, but just seeing things. It came to me when my son was here. He got a new truck. Well, he had a motorcycle and he had a Harley, and he said to me, he traded it in. He goes, well, and that was his baby. But he said, I just got to thinking that when I connected my Harley, I connected to going to Harley bars, to drinking. I never had to say a word about his Harley that I really, knew that was, but he just came up with it. He said, I just decided I'm just going to get rid of my Harley. I'll lose money on it, but I'm going to trade it in for a pickup truck. And I'm like, see, I said nothing, but he had his own wisdom that came to him that he connected Harley going to bars, so there is nothing to do.
I love that. It's like when we back off a bit, their own wisdom has a chance to come up.
I know.
Instead of us trying to give our wisdom to them, it's like that they've got their own, where they're loving and supporting them, and in that trust, we can watch their own wisdom blossom. And there's nothing more beautiful as a parent.
Yeah.
I think so.
Thank you, Catherine.
That's true. There is nothing more beautiful as a parent. That's what makes my heart sing when I see that with my kids.
Yeah.
And it's like they're pouring love into my heart. And I love that feeling. And the beautiful thing, as you get older, the relationship grows, because they become a different person. First they were under your tutorage, and now they're independent, living people. And we have to keep our relationship alive with them. We can't just assume we can't live in the past. He's a little kid, this stuff. They're going through stuff, but they're also growing and learning and learning how to think, and learning how to tell me how to improve my life. Dad, you should eat like that. Dad,
That's funny.
Personal. Yeah.
You know, also, you know, I see like my father, and remember what he went through because of what I was going through. And then I think I spoke about it before, my daughters, you know, it's like they were, you know, they were the ones that sometimes I would go to, you know, when one of the boys were using, or they were in the hospital, or they were whatever. And I kind of drew other people in my drama or my suffering because I didn't understand it. So that's why it's very important to me, not just as a parent, because there's so many other people that are affected. You know, I have a friend that I used to call and deal with it in a different way and see it differently. So that's, you know, getting this out for other people to understand how this works, and that no one has to suffer. No one has to suffer. That is a loved one, husband, wife of somebody going through addiction, because you're the one that's going to have a wonderful life, and it's going to actually raise the awareness and the consciousness of that person, that loved one that you love. And it all starts from those that understand this. Does anybody else have anything they want to say?
I have done something on. One of the interesting things of being a parent or a grandparent in this case is you're dealing with the kids' dishonesty, and because we've talked how beautiful they are, but they're human beings, and so yesterday, I generally give my grandson not only a tremendous amount of freedom and leverage, but I go out of my way to please him. And we had agreed that he was watching some video, he'd watch it, then he'd have a snack and he'd go to bed, which then would mean, because I was babysitting my two grandkids, and he agreed to that. And to be honest, he normally is honest and respectful to it. But he had his snack, and then his parents came home, and then they brought me a smoothie ice cream from Wendy's, Frosty it's called, and of course he wanted some of that. And anyway, because his parents came in, he thought the deal was different, and oh no, I don't want to go to bed, and he created this little thing, and I said, you have to go to bed, but he wouldn't listen. And then when I said, actually I have to go anyway now. And I had agreed that I'd give him some of the Frosty for him to have the next day. And then this was really a big experience for me. I said, no, you can't have any Frosty. I'm taking it with me because you weren't honest. And that really affected me. Like, it was hard for me to do that. Like it made me think, am I doing the right thing? Am I being and all? But the feeling told me that it was time to take a stand, because he's growing up, his mind is developing, and if you spoil him too much love, he'll take advantage of it. And I know that there's no hard feelings between us because we love each other so much. That's the overriding influence. But once in a while, you have to say no. You know, it was just a simple little experience, but it was very difficult for me. I cannot even tell you how hard that was for me. And yet, it's rewarding, because when we're in the three principles, we have to be true to our feelings. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's about all I know about the three principles. It guides me back inside to what's true and real and alive in me, and what I feel. And as a parent, I would say the kids test us more than any other common denominator out there. They're making us question, examine what we see, what we believe, what we honestly feel. And if we dishonor that, we, of course, our head is the misuse of the principles. And in parenting, you have the greatest test in the world. And the test is called, I love my kid beyond any other imagination. And the nature of us is to give. But parenting also means to be honest with life.
And I think that comes, for me, all of my answers that I've seen in the last year, everything has came from, whether it's a relationship with my husband, whatever it is not reacting, and just kind of, setting with things, because I know the answer is going to come. And I think if there's anything that has been my biggest teacher, it is waking up to the fact that I may not be seeing things right now. Same as when I was in the hospital, I wasn't. But when I was able to quiet my mind, I was able to open up to a place that no matter, even though my head was hurting and I was in terrible pain, people were poking at me, all kinds of things were going on, I could go to this space that, even though that was happening, I was able to quiet my mind. And I think that's where all your answers come from. And that's what happened to me. I was able to say, these people are in charge of, if I know something to say or to do, I will, but I just was with it. And I think that's one of my biggest things I've learned through the principles. And my answers always come to me when I don't react, or if I just I'll have an answer for this. I may not be seeing it right now, but like my son pointed out, the sun's behind the clouds. And I always have that going on in the background, even though I'm not seeing it. So if it's something with one of my grandkids acting up or whatever, and it's kind of like not reacting, because that's kind of what they're wanting, is a reaction.
Can I just say something that came to mind when Harry was talking?
Mm-hmm.
One of the most important things I learned as a parent was learning to say no with love. I love you and no. And that I know, like I used to equate saying yes with love, but I learned early on that saying an authentic, staying in my own integrity, when my wisdom said no, I could say that with love. And that no, an honest no, was as loving as yes. And that was so important to me as a parent, to say, so that there were boundaries, and that, as Harry said, I don't exactly agree that there's ever a possibility of too much love, but we have to have access to a loving no with our children, or our yes doesn't mean anything. So some of us never learned how to say no until we were angry, or until we couldn't do anything else. And when I learned to say no with love, it really changed the quality of my parenting, and changed me as a parent. So I think it's really important to know that it's just as loving to say no when it's necessary, and that we can say that from a place of love that's very strong and clear, and our children will absolutely benefit from that. So
that's a beautiful point, Catherine. And I've seen the same thing also. When you're not coming from any kind of anger, and no means no. It has no right or wrong to it. It's just what you're feeling now. That's your answer, is no. It can be just as powerful as yes. And I was the same way. I used to kind of think that no meant I wasn't loving or whatever, or I wasn't, so that's great that you brought that up. That's so true.
And the loving brings the balance inside of us without the judgment and reaction that Debbie's talking about. Because that's what I struggled with, Catherine, was I said no, but was I loving?
Yeah.
And you kind of answered that. If you go back into the loving feeling, you're quite comfortable with because, and this is very important, it's for the best of the kid.
That's our job. That's our job as parents or grandparents. It's not,
Because you see parents who are disciplined, but they don't have the loving feeling. But then with this, it's a very calming, comfortable, safe place to be.
And what you said, Harry, is what I try to connect with, and that is a feeling, and there is a feeling to every answer, to every emotion that we have, and connecting to that good feeling. I can have a good feeling and still go through an emotion that, maybe other people might think is not good or whatever, but I can still have a feeling and go through that. I may be sad about something, but I can have a feeling that sadness is a good thing that I'm going through, and I'm just with it.
And it is.
Yeah, we actually have Trevor with his hand up. Are you still there, Trevor? I see you have your video off and everything.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hear me?
Hi, Trevor.
Oh, hi. Yeah, this is pretty hard emotional call for me because I'm not a parent, and my parents are pretty extreme characters. So I haven't told them about my addictions. I've had no support from my parents with my addictions. I've done it pretty much privately, like keeping it a secret. But in sort of, I just realized in sort of hiding it from them, I haven't given them the opportunity to support me in that way, to maybe discuss some of the things I find really difficult to do with my parents. I mean, just as a little example, my father, he kicked me out of the house, and he stole my the deposit savings from my flat, which we'd agreed to save, and then he threatened to beat me up and put me in hospital. This was about a year ago, maybe about a year and a half ago, and I haven't really spoken to him for a while. But we had a family meal last week, and it was going pretty well. And there were some things that I was thinking, well, I'm not feeling very comfortable about this, and I wasn't drinking, and I had no pharmaceuticals to rely on, so I was just really experiencing those intense feelings, and wondering if anybody could notice, like if I was hiding it well enough. And then he told me off, shouted at me for serving myself with the wrong fork. I literally wanted to stab him with the fork. I was like, what? Have we not moved past this yet? I'm 46 years old, and none of that came out of my mouth. None of it was expressed, because he's a violent, horrible, angry man who hasn't seen the three principles. And I hate my parents. I'm sorry, I hate my parents. I'm hearing all this loving stuff about parents, but when I tried to speak to him, he just said, listen, everybody gets messed up, and there's a point where you have to just grow up and say, okay, move on. It's like, is that an apology? I don't know. It doesn't sound like it. So I'm not currently doing drugs. I'm not currently drinking, but there are other things that I'm starting to replace in my life as an addiction that I'm not proud of. And I don't even know why I'm sharing, to be honest. I guess like I have a basic understanding of the three principles, but I don't really have that happy outlook for the future, because I'm always like probably trying to heal the past, or just get to the point where I can be normal again. So yeah, it's just really difficult for me, like about parenting and stuff. I mean, it's great you've seen that with your kids. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still really suffering from my parents splitting up when I was younger, and that's when I started doing drugs, and that's my addictions sort of got a hold of me. And now
Trevor, can
I don't. Yeah, now I'm just dealing with the feelings.
yeah,
it's like,
and I know that we're coming to the end of this, but I'm available if you'd like to talk further about it. But one thing that came to me when you were speaking, and we all have things. I have things from my parents and the way they treated me, or the way that all of that. But where it starts, Trevor, is with you. You can't change where your father's at right now, but from the inside you can change everything that you see inside, and any of that on the outside doesn't matter. It's all going to be something, and whatever circumstances going on the outside, where things change and where you see life differently is go inside. And that's what Sid would say. All the mystics would say that, and I didn't understand that. But truly, just go inside and see these principles that are at work. And the more that you see them, the more that you're filled with love and forgiveness. And it's nothing to do, but you will start seeing them. So I can only just say, briefly a little bit about that. That if you'd like to talk, I'd be welcome to talk to you about it at any time.
okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just not seeing things clearly at the moment.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And that's where you sit, Trevor.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's the spiritual evolvement. I know it sounds funny to say it, but you sit in that. You have to, we all go through that feeling, and we don't sit in it, and it's still going to happen. You're still going to grow and change and see clearly, but it's easier if you recognize that it's perfect for you right now. It is absolutely perfect. There's nothing to change, Trev. Nothing. All it is it's relaxing in the moment. Of course, easier said than done, but it's fine. And it's spiritual unfolding. And with that, well, I'll finish with one little story. I was sitting in the car with Sid Banks, and I was going through a lot of beautiful feelings, and I said, "Gee, Sid, the spirit moves slow, doesn't it?" And he said, with a big smile on his face, as only he could smile, and he said, "Yeah, real slow. That's the way it moves, real slow. And our mind goes real fast."
Yeah, life moves real fast and the spirit moves really slow.
Go with the tempo of the spirit. You'll have no problem. You're a beautiful guy. We all know that, by the way.
Yeah.
You're a beautiful guy. And
I just lost my way again. I guess it's the addict's dilemma, shall I pick up some habit to deflect the feelings, or shall I just go through this, knowing
perfect.
it's always help.
And give Debbie a call. She's very touchy.
Cool. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Trevor.
Anybody else have anything to share?
I think it's a good place to.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming today. And thanks, Debbie, for coming and moderating and, getting this discussion going. This was a really beautiful discussion. I definitely enjoyed it.
Love you, Greg.
Love you too, Debbie. And I love the, I just love the way that I've seen things change for you with how you look at your sons, and how you respond and react to the things that they're doing and the things that they're up to. You know, 'cause I remember when I first started talking to you, everything frustrated you and everything. You were just, you had a million things going on in your head. Now it's like, yeah, okay, he's doing that. I mean, it sucks, but it's his journey to take. And
Absolutely.
As a, I didn't, I hadn't had the chance to have any kids, but I do know that as a parent, our only job would be to just love our kids.
And
You know?
trust.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody, and it's been beautiful.
I'm going to go and unmute everybody so people can say goodbye. And thanks everybody for showing up and participating. This was awesome. Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Go ahead.